In this video, I'm going to share with you how we're capitalizing on one of the fastest moving trends in the online space and how me and my clients are using it to net a 10 to 30x return using low cost ads right here in 2024. Now, just a quick legal disclaimer here. I am obligated to say that the facts, figures, and numbers here are representative of figures my clients have shared with me. And I've not actually gone into their bank accounts and validated any of this information. And I can also in no way guarantee that you will make any money from this whatsoever by implementing what I'm about to show you here or by watching this video. We're all adults, we make our own choices, and I'm simply showing you what they did, what I have done for them. Do what you will with this information. Now, with that out of the way, here's how this system has worked for my clients. It's allowed a business coach who previously relied on challenges to ditch the roller coaster model and stabilize 50K months without having to rely anymore on launches. It's allowed a brand new health coach to scale to 50K a month in just under 60 days, which is absolutely wild. It's enabled another mindset coach to land their first high ticket client from ads ever after struggling with countless different ways, challenges, webinars, low ticket, you name it. It's also allowed a finance coach to sell without sales calls and hit nearly 100K in profit, along with countless others who have simplified their marketing and sales systems, break through all this nonsense hype that's out there right now, and for once, be able to truly scale their business. And honestly, they did it all without building crazy complex low ticket ascension funnels, without having to grind day after day, begging for engagement in school and Facebook groups, or without having to promise the world and just to make sales. So seriously, there's no you don't pay here. If you're one of those guys, if you're relying on that, then feel free just to close this out because there isn't going to be any of that here. I don't believe in that and I don't support that. So with it, and honestly, this works too without having to grind a ton of content or shake your ass begging for likes, and you don't need a large or really any following to start out doing this. And why I say that is because it is entirely done on social media, and it's called the short form selling model. And we've been using this frictionless approach for almost 18 months now. And I can say that without a doubt that if you're under 100K a month, that this is by far the easiest way to scale any business with an offer above 2K or at least with the lifetime value of at least 2 to 3K. Because honestly, here's the thing. There's this trend right now about communities and groups and low ticket funnels. And after being in the trenches on some of the largest offers in the space, running these style of getting high value clients, they are a ton of work and they require a huge upfront investment of both money, capital, and time. And honestly, for low ticket, you've got to build extremely complex funnels and be prepared to lose a ton of money upfront in order to make it work. So, this is just a really short, brief diagram of just what is required on the front end to make low ticket work in 2024. And if you can make it work, it's a great model. Good for you. It's meant for people who are ready to pull out the bazooka and really scale. If you are below 100K a month, honestly, in my opinion, this is not for you. So they work great once you get them up and running. But honestly, you've got a funnel with multiple complex pages in it. You've got a long form sales page with 5 to 10,000 words of direct response copy, which if you half ass it, it's not converting. You're wasting your time. Don't bother using AI for something like that because it's not going to convert. And then what are you doing? Why are you writing it in the first place? And that's only one page. You've got that. You've got a VSL checkout page, multiple upsell pages, a book a call page, all the automations, thank you and order confirmation. Like I'm getting exhausted just listing everything that is required to do it, let alone actually having to go do it. So groups are just as bad. And if you're watching this and you have a group, then you probably know what I'm talking about because you've got to regularly produce content nonstop just to keep the members engaged. And then they leave anyways. The leads, half the time that you generate, they don't even see your messages that they've asked for when they joined and answered the questions to get into the group. And really what at the end of the day, what it feels like is you're just pouring water through a broken bucket. Now, these methods work really well back in the day. Groups can work really well if they're self-sustaining, they're self-feeding, and they're organic, and they've hit that flywheel point, where you're above 30, 40, 50,000 members and the group is still active. Great. Fantastic. There's always going to be somebody in here that'll be like, I know a guy who's doing with this group. Cool. There's a lot of groups that are struggling right now. because this model doesn't work, because content is so saturated, they just don't convert like they used to. And I can say that with confidence. I have multiple clients who used to run this model. It's a very difficult model to run right now. So I get it. In the 12 years that I've been doing this, I've extensively ran every marketing vehicle you can think of. Like I said, I ran groups, VSLs, low ticket, mid ticket webinars, workshops, challenges, and virtually every other variation of each of them. So here's the thing that nobody's going to tell you right now. Ultimately, they all work. If you're willing to put in a ton of work to make them work, I have helped my clients make millions of dollars from virtually every single one of these. And what I've found is that honestly, they're just far too much work for the average business owner. They're too complex. Most of you are not marketers. You're not automation specialists. You're not like some of you are salespeople, and you should be salespeople because it's your business, but you're not the online tech marketer. And that's what these are designed for. So there's too many moving parts. And let's face it, your time, your energy, and your resources are scarce. So I'm proud to tell you that there actually is a much, much, much better way right now in 2024. And it's what me and my clients are using. And honestly, it's been fantastic so far. So this method that I'm about to share with you today. You don't have to be a guru content creator either. A lot of people think that, but you actually don't. Some content is required, but it's just not the major driver as I'm going to share with you. So, how we've been able to get these 10 to 30x returns on our social ads is really by eliminating all of the unnecessary friction between the lead and our sales team, which is ultimately the goal of any online market. I don't care if you're doing organic content, paid content, group, webinar, whatever. Your goal with a high ticket offer is to take somebody who is a lead and turn them into a sale, into a client, into a repeat customer. And so we're removing all the friction that's between all of them. And I think you're going to love this. We're still qualifying our leads. We're still making sure that we're talking to an in market segment of our audience, which is super important. And because of that, we're still virtually printing money in 2024. This works for almost any industry. I've tested it in dozens of different industries, from weight loss to high ticket business coaching to shoulder rehab to gut health. And compared to other methods, it works quickly and is 100% accountable for every action taken. No more, I don't know, bro, the pixel just didn't fire, so YOLO. Or money printer go brrr, agencies. You see this, dude? This is how most agencies run. I have seen the back end of some of the highest profile agencies in this space from when my clients come to me after it doesn't work. And honestly, some of them should be ashamed of themselves. They just let the money spend. We're talking 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 without any kind of attribution or sales. It's a nightmare. If that happens, you're essentially just lighting your ads on fire, right? With this model, there's an extreme first party data tracking at every level just because of how we set it up for every single one of our clients. And because we're doing it on social, there's no breakage of the tracking. I'm not going to get super technical on what all that is and what all that means. If we ever work together, we'll explain to you exactly how we managed to pull all that off. But why does all this matter? Because honestly, when you utilize this in the way that I'm about to show you, we're able to identify exactly what we're doing that drives our best quality leads, our best quality clients, and what we're doing that is the most profitable. And we don't need expensive tools like ROAS or Triple Whale. And like, honestly, no shade against them. Those tools are great after you've already broken consistent, steady 100, 200, 300K months. Those are very expensive tools. They work great. I've used them myself. But honestly, the complexity of setting them up and using them properly for the average business owner, again, you are not the marketing specialist. You're not the person who's well versed in digital automation and attribution. Leave that to people like me. Okay, you don't need to be doing it. And the problem is that you get stuck between a rock and a hard place because you've got high roast and triple well needing to be set up. You've got your VSL page, your webinar, your low ticket, whatever. And then you've got the agency who frankly just doesn't give a shit. They're collecting on the retainer. And at the end of the day, as long as you don't cancel, they don't really care all that much, at least in general. And that's why this industry has burned so much mistrust over these past few years. So honestly, by the time you get past 300K a month, you want to start introducing more friction into your sales process because now you have the money to spend, you have that buffer, and you need something a little bit more scalable for your team. But trying to start there, it's a catastrophe unless you have massive dollars to burn. And I'm actually kind of shocked that virtually nobody else has really dove into doing this because it's not that hard. Not compared to these other models. I mean, having done all of them, this is really, really, really simple. And you're really doing a lot of the same freaking stuff. It's just a couple of tweaks, and we're able to cut out of all the redundancies, all the bloat, where most people were getting whelmed with traditional ads, client acquisition, and coaching programs. And instead, we're focusing on what works and creating a repeatable, efficient system for growth. Now, because we're tapping into one of the fastest growing trends on social media in 2024, your prospects are all there. I guarantee you, I don't care what you sell, your prospects are there. This trend is not slowing down. The short form annual growth rate worldwide is 15% year over year, going from a $30 billion a year industry just in 2022 to an estimated $60 billion a year industry in 2025. So if you're not there currently, or you have no plans of being there, then you're leaving a ton of money on the table for your competition to scoop up. Now, I think I've said enough about how this is applicable and valuable here. So, honestly, let's just get right into what we're doing to make this happen, because I don't want to gas you up and make this one of those fluffy presentations where I don't actually teach you anything. So, let's actually get to the good stuff. Right now, we're leveraging the power of short form content, hence the name of the model, short form selling model. What we do is we grab the attention of only our most ideal customers and prove to them that we can help them by actually helping them. And once we do that, we offer to give them something of value that's going to help them take the next step. This does two things. We are only captivating the attention of only the people we want to attract. The next thing we're doing is we're providing value and goodwill with our audience. We're not promising them 100 dream clients or you don't pay. That's called using the wrong market message match, which is something that we train our clients deeply on. This means that they're willingly coming into our ecosystem and raising their hand as what you would call an in-market lead. And this right here is where 99% of marketers go majorly wrong. And why this whole elevated claim nonsense that's the market's been on is just absolutely comical. I don't know why anybody would waste their time making an offer to someone who doesn't have the problem you solve. It is an absolute complete waste of time and dollars, and yet this has been the industry standard approach by most average marketers for years. So instead, what we do is it's far cheaper and more effective to collect a pool of people who have the problem that you solve, get them to like you quickly by giving them immediate direct value right in the ad or the content and proving to them in real time that you're somebody who actually knows their situation, their problem, and is offering clear value on how to solve a part of it. So, this way, when you do make them an offer later, they are far more likely to be receptive to it. You with me so far? Because honestly, this is where we're just getting started. This is just the good part. Once the leads have raised their hand, we put them into a conversation directly on the social platform they're on. For us, this is predominantly Instagram, purely for automation and functionality purposes. But you can easily do this on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever else you're on, X, Reddit, you name it. Anything that has a DM functionality to it, you're in the money. So now that we're in conversation with these leads, we give them the thing that they've asked for and move right into qualifying them. So here's what this looks like in practice. We've run this content. We've pulled in 77 brand new leads who have raised the hand to the problem that we solve. 77 new conversations in less than a month for $5 a conversation. The average cost to get in contact with somebody on a VSL by the time you actually touch base with somebody, if you're doing your job, I would say 10 out of 10 exceptionally well, you're looking at the cheapest I have ever seen is probably $50 a call. The average is closer to $100, $200, $300 per call. Now, I understand these are not calls, but these are conversations directly with your audience. This benefits you in a multitude of ways. If you're speaking to them and your message is off, you're going to figure it out very, very, very quickly. If the people who are coming in are not high quality, you're going to figure it out very, very, very quickly, which means you can make adjustments on the fly fast. You're not just sitting there trying to figure out who's this email or Gmail address. We don't know who these people are unless you have an application in front of them. And even then, people lie. When you're in conversation with somebody, you're speaking to them directly. And when you start doing this at scale, you start to figure out very quickly what is working and where is not. Not to mention, these metrics, they're very comparable to a traditional sales funnel in terms of people coming through them. So, for example, 1,100 conversations for just a $5,000 investment in ads over a period of a few months. You were to sell even just 1/10 of a percent, we're talking one person out of these 1,100 conversations, which would be an astronomically terrible sales rate. What we see is typically closer to 1 in 50 or 1 in 30, depending on the industry niche offer, whatever. I'm not making any claims here to anybody because if you come in here and sell coaching to ghosts, I don't want somebody coming back here and being like, you told me I'd sell 1 in 50 ghosts I brought in. Not doing that. But this is typically what I see with my current clients right now. 1 in 50 would be on the higher end, maybe as high as 1 in 70 if the offer is struggling a little bit. Now, out of 1,100 conversations, you can see how this is easily able to replicate a 10 to 30x return on these sorts of things. Again, we're able to quickly pivot, quickly change what we're doing if something is not working. The messaging we're using is bringing in the wrong avatar. We change it up to bring in a better quality avatar by using a different lead magnet, different message. Okay. Now, I want you to consider this. If you're talking directly to a lead who has just told you that they have the problem that you can help them with because they've just raised their hand and to your short form content and they took action for the next step. From here, we offer to help them out a little bit more, which is what allows us to further qualify them. If they're qualified, if they're somebody who could use what we have to offer, we tell them how we can help them. And often, because we've already demonstrated that we are able to help them, they're open to seeing how we can help them further, all through conversation. The amount of marketing and touch points you have to go through with all of those traditional models to get this kind of data to be able to iterate quickly and get in touch with your audience. People have entire market research firms dedicated to this sort of thing that cost tens of thousands of dollars per report. Per report. Okay. I just want you guys to realize that we are talking to the market directly and we are able to maneuver and pivot on the fly. So when we run all these other fancy funnels, the goal of these things 99.9% of the time is to get a qualified prospect into a conversation. So what we are doing instead is we are jumping straight to it. We're cutting out the fluff, the fat off, and jumping straight into the conversation. So this is the key between the, let's call them the or you don't pay marketers and actual experts who know what they're doing in this field. So there's obviously more to this sales process than that, but I don't want to have to go into and give a full breakdown on the entire sell by chat process that we use here. This video is going to end up 90 minutes longer than it needs to be. And maybe I'll cover it in a dedicated future video. But just know that once you qualify them and effectively go into expert mode, you diagnose the problem that you see and offer to help them with it. So there's fancy ways that we can manufacture the attention of these ideal prospects. We use a technique that I call lead sequencing. So I'm going to jump over into more of a bird's eye view ecosystem and show you exactly what that looks like. So this is the overview of the short form selling model. And before this scares you away with flowcharts and arrows and all this stuff, this is very, very simple to execute and very, very simple to understand once it's explained to you. The first thing we do, and honestly, this doesn't really matter whether you're starting out with organic or paid, organic is just slow. Guys, I don't have a problem with organic in terms of getting eyeballs on your stuff. There's a lot of people who do organic that do it very well, but if you don't have an audience, you don't have an existing following, it is very hard to start from scratch purely organic. This is where you run ads. You spend $10, $20, $30 a day max. You're looking at $300 to $1,000 a month in terms of ad spend. If you cannot afford $10 a day in ads, I don't know what you're doing running a business. I'm just going to put that bluntly. Okay. So how this works, we run our ads to our cold audience. Again, this can also work for organic as well. We run our short form content ad. We have this term that I call the short form actionable content. And it's a term that I made up, which is it's a 30 to 60 second short form reel or story that we're calling out the ideal prospect. We're providing them with actionable value within the content. We're demonstrating authority by proving to them that we can help them by either telling them this is how we solved it, this is how we solved this for this client, or some form of either or. Then we're giving them a takeaway to get started. You may have seen this before, comment, yada, 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 DM me short form actionable content if you want our high performing content strategy that brings in high performing leads on Instagram. Okay. Once they've done that, they send us a DM. DM goes into conversation. Now, here's the fun part. Not everybody's going to send you a DM ad. And this is what tangentially grows your profile and grows your following as you go. So, a lot of people, I would say 50 to 60% of people, rather than click through and send you a message, they're actually going to just engage with your content and they're going to check out your profile. Because you know what? Nowadays, people, there's a low trust in the industry. We call it the trust session. And so people want to check you out first. They want to see what you're up to, see if you're really somebody who can actually help them. This is why I said before, you don't have to grind content, but you do need to produce a little bit of it, right? Rather than post, 4, 5, 6 times a day, have to grind out new reels, new stories constantly. We post a little bit to nurture and stay in touch with our audience, pull some leads off the fence. I can show you if we do work together, I can show you a very efficient process for batching content, or maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. But when somebody checks out your profile, this is the fun part. That is a marketing or a lead event within Meta ads. A lot of people don't realize this. And so what we do is we check out their profile. We want to see, did they follow you or not? Did they check you out and like you? Or did they just, scroll through your stuff and then bounce? They didn't follow you. Well, guess what? We now hit them with our high performing brand content, which is our best performing organic content, or at least the best performing content that you have ready that you ran before. This could be a workshop, webinar, email, whatever. You've been in business before. Chances are you know what's going to resonate with them. And even if you don't, we've got templates that you can follow that, we can replicate this kind of thing. The things that are going to resonate with your ideal prospect, again, it's going to provide them with actionable insight or value. But instead of getting them to DM us now, we're sending them a CTA to get them to follow us for more. Now, this keeps happening. Like, I don't know if you notice these arrows here, but this is what's known as a loop. And so what's going to happen is they are not going to get out of this audience. They're going to continue to see our high performing brand content over and over and over and over and over again until they follow. Right? Or eventually they'll fall off. If they just never engage with anything else ever again, they never come back to your profile again, sooner or later they will fall off. We do not spend a lot of money on this. This is $1 to $2 a day, more depending on what your budget, but you do not have to spend much, but you are going to stay in constant contact with them because it's a retargeting audience. The audience is small. You don't have to spend much to reach them all. Next, once they actually follow you, that's where we send them an automated welcome DM. Okay, welcome DM kicks back off to the conversation. This loop right here has what we call perfect tracking because it's all on platform. Everything that we do through here, Facebook or Meta or whatever they're called this week, is perfectly tracking everything. We don't have any fall offs. There used to be strategies back in the day where you would send people to your opt in page and you would micro sequentially retarget them based on a number of days. But nowadays, honestly, it's very difficult to track people who hit your website because you're losing a lot of efficacy because of the whole iOS and Pixel issues that they've struggled with. It's getting better. There's more models. I'm not going to get into that. However, because this is all on platform, we don't have to deal with any of that. This completely bypasses that whole iOS junk and all of the marketing tracking issues that most marketers are facing nowadays. So, now that we've covered this sort of quick retargeting cycle, once we hit the conversation, one of two things happen. They either engage with the conversation and give us their email, or they don't. If they don't, we have a handful of automated follow ups to follow up with them back in the conversation. Hey, do you still want this thing? Is this still a priority for you? Yada, yada, yada. It's automated follow up so that way that you don't have to do it. Okay. It's 2024 right now. Everybody's got setters and sales teams and you know what, but a lot of this stuff can be automated, which is why it works so efficiently. If you have a setter, if you have a sales team, or if you're doing it yourself, one of the best parts about this is that this whole first part of the process can skim through your best quality leads for you so that you don't have to be the one messaging them and having them ghost you and get back to you. You're only focusing your time on the leads that are actually engaging with your content and engaging with your messages. So once they've actually given you the email, they're going to get a series of automated emails. This is your typical welcome sequence, which is going to push them to book a call. I'm not going to talk about that. There's lots of people talking about that. Now, once we're in conversation, we move them directly into qualification. And so our qualification looks something like this. We essentially want to move them through a phase of questions, but we want to know that, first of all, they have the problem that we solve. They know that it's a problem and they know that they need to solve it. They have the means to solve it, which is both resource, time, team, whatever that looks like. And then the most important one is that they want help to solve it right now. And if they do, we offer to get on a call with them. There are other models where we do train our clients on how to close without having to use sales calls. But honestly, the easiest way for most, whether you have a team or whether you're doing it on yourself, is if your lead is passing these qualification standards, you send them to an enrollment call, you book them in a call, they go through a homework process, and you close them as a client. This all happens on platform. Okay. There is nothing that you need that goes beyond this. Right. And then what happens if the lead doesn't pass qualification? What we do is we actually add them to a future audience so that all of our future ads are excluded, exclude these people from seeing any of our future content, seeing any of our future ads. And the fun part about it is that if you know anything about lookalike audiences, we actually exclude these poor quality leads from the lookalike audiences themselves and feed that back sort of as a negative feedback loop back to Facebook so they can better optimize who it's showing our ads to. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people joke and say, well, Zuckerberg just wants your money. Zuckerberg just wants this. Facebook wins more when you do. If you continue to win and continue to get money from Facebook, they will continue, you'll continue to spend with them. And in fact, you will spend more with them. So at the end of the day, that's why they do invest so much into the algorithm and AI and all this stuff. So at the end of the day, they want you to win. So that's why we're able to do this. So that's the overview in a nutshell. Now,